Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I will call our June council meeting to order, and it's my privilege to welcome all of you that are here in person and those of you who are watching online. Welcome to this dreary June Wednesday evening, I guess. Looks like it's going to rain out, but welcome. And we have the privilege of having Reverend Justin Hicks with the Wesley Campus Ministries, who has graciously agreed to come and do the invocation this evening. So, Reverend Hicks, welcome. Thanks for taking time out of your schedule to come and be with us.
Thank you. Let us pray. Thank you, Almighty Father, for this day, another day of life and breath to praise you. We give you thanks for this opportunity to be able to gather here in this place and online to do the work of the town of Farmville. We give you thanks that we can call this place home, a place we live, share, serve, and love one another. Thank you for our town leadership and employees. They give of their time, talents to lead us and to keep the town going. May you guide them in their decision-making. May they seek your counsel and lead with compassionate hearts, open minds, and clear words that uplift and value all people. We give you thanks for our first responders and their willingness to serve and sacrifice for our community. Bless this time. Guide each person and go with us as we leave this place this day. We pray all these things in him who gives us strength. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, gentlemen. Madam Clerk, would you kindly call the roll?
Mr. Parrott?
Here.
Mr. Reed?
Here.
Mr. Vincent?
Here.
Mrs. Amos?
Here.
Mr. Cole?
Here.
Mr. Dwyer?
Here.
Mr. Hunter?
Here.
Thank you, ma'am. Everybody here and accounted for. Do we have anyone sign up for public comment?
We have Mr. Rick Ewing.
Greetings, sir. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for listening to me.
Mr. Ewing, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. I'm just a couple of notes from the library. First of all, thank you for your continued support. The town of Farmville has a pretty swell library if you travel around, and I know you all have. Small towns in Virginia, I can't think of one that has a better one, and most of them don't match it. So thank you for supporting it. Just a couple of notes about the library itself. We're still giving away free COVID test kits to anyone who comes in. Just ask for one per person. That's through the Virginia Department of Health. Our program has fully returned. We're back to where we were 3 years ago. So that's good news, I think, serving everyone from baby time to, to old age, the golden years. So we're also giving away free lunches through the school system, through Prince Edward Schools for children Monday through Thursday, June 13th through the 30th, and from 12 to 1, except for the 20th, which we're closed for in celebration of Juneteenth. Finally, the summer reading club, summer reading program Kickoff was a great success, and we had 253 people show up for that. We did a tie-dyeing event and gave away a bunch of books and a bunch of other stuff, but a big part of that was the attraction of First Responders Day. They had police cars from the town, fire truck, ambulance, and state police helicopter flew in. Big hit. Everybody wanted to go see that helicopter. Y'all have to get a helicopter. You'll have even more people come to the town. So I just want to thank especially the police department for coordinating that, and that started out with them saying, "Hey, can we just come in and read a book at a children's program?" and it kind of grew into what it was on Saturday. Hope for that again next year. So thanks again, appreciate it. Does anybody have any questions about the library or anything?
Any questions? Thank you, sir. Thank
very
you for
much.
all the good work. I did see the helicopter lifting off when it left, and it was rather impressive.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, anyone else sign up?
No, sir.
Anyone wish to speak who did not sign up? We never want to deny anybody the opportunity to speak. Okay, if not, we'll bring the public comment session to a close. And our next item is a closed session. Mr. Vincent?
Mr. Mayor, I move that the Farmville Town Council convene in closed meeting pursuant to the Code of Virginia in accordance with the provisions of paragraph A.1 of section 2.2-3711 for the discussion of performance of the town manager and the appointment of the town attorney.
Second. Motion and second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. We will adjourn to the EOC room and hopefully return in a few minutes. Thanks.
whereas the Farmville Town Council has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and whereas Section 2.2-3712 of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by the Farmville Town Council that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now therefore be it resolved that the Farmville Town Council hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification resolution applies, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the Farmville Town Council.
Second.
Motion and second. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Hunter?
Yes.
Mr. Vincent?
Yes.
Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mrs. Amos?
Yes.
Okay, we're now back in open session and we'll continue the regular order of business. Item 7, the consent agenda. Does anyone wish to pull anything out of the consent agenda? If not, do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I make a motion. Go ahead, Mr. Reed.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any additional discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Item 8, request approval of the finance report. Madam Finance Director? It's designed for a short person, huh?
Good evening. You have the May finance report in front of you. There's 2 items I'd like to point out. One is the library trust fund decreased with only the interest earned in May remaining in the account. These funds were forwarded to the Central Virginia Regional Library, and the remaining May interest will also be remitted to CVLR in June. And the other thing was the capital improvement account was closed, and those monies was moved to the operating account in May, and that was from a resolution back in November for the pavement of the parking lot at the Old Ruby Tuesdays. Any questions?
Any questions? If not, do I hear a motion to approve the finance report?
I make a motion to approve the finance report as presented.
Second.
Motion and second. Any additional discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Item number 9, request adoption of resolutions. We'll do this, can we do this as a group? No, got to do it individually. Okay. First resolution, 2022-0601, the Town of Farmville Compensation Classification Plan, which is in your packet. Any questions? If not, do I hear a motion that we approve it?
I make a motion that we approve it as presented.
Second.
Motion and second. Any other discussion? Madam Clerk, you want to call the roll?
Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Hunter?
Yes.
Mr. Vincent?
Yes.
Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mrs. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
On a unanimous vote, the measure is passed.
Thank you, ma'am. Resolution B, Resolution 2022-0602, the Town of Farmville Fiscal Year 2023 to 2027, the Capital Improvement Plan. Any
Mr. Mayor,
discussion?
No. I make a motion to adopt a resolution number 2022-06-02, the Farmville, Town of Farmville Physical Plan 2327 Capital Improvement Plan.
Second.
Motion and second. Is there any additional discussion? If not, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Mr. Hunter?
Yes.
Mr. Vincent?
Yes.
Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mrs. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
On a unanimous vote, the measure is passed.
Thank you, ma'am. Resolution C, Resolution number 2022-0603, Fiscal Year 2022-2023, Town Budget. Any discussion?
Yeah, I would like to bring up something. I feel that the fact that we haven't received an appraisal on the golf course property to whether it's best to be marketed as a course or sell as land. And if we were to close the course at the end of June, as the budget suggests, that we would be possibly condemning the course to not being able to be sold or marketed as a golf course. So personally, I'd like to see one or two things. Either have at least at the very least, the greens maintained until we can determine if there is a potential buyer for it as a golf course. Or second, we can keep the golf course open for a certain amount of time and still allowing us to determine if it could be marketed as a golf course. So I'm open for either one of those two, if anybody else has comments.
We'll open the floor up.
I'll make a motion that we continue to keep the golf course open until we get an appraisal and are able to determine what is in the best interest of the town of Farmville in regards to whether we sell it as a golf course or try to sell it as land.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second to that? I have a second. Discussion?
I'm amenable to this discussion, and I understand the points of keeping the greens nice, because once they go, they're gone. I do feel like this is an issue that we keep kicking around, and I'd just like to put some sort of timeline on it so that it's not indefinite and we continue to kick this around. Like 90 days.
I agree with Brian.
The only concern is, will we get an appraisal back during that time period to be able to?
Mr. Davis, you want to speak to the appraisal issue?
We've put it out to bid and did not receive any in the first round. We've amended the date, and so far we still have not found anyone that is able to or willing. They're able, but not willing yet to appraise that property.
Have you reached out to the latest ones I sent you?
Yes, one was today, the other was prior, and the one out of Greensboro is said that they're already probably over working themselves in those terms, and that they would not be putting in a bid.
How about the one today?
I don't have any feedback yet from this afternoon.
I'll just say I deal with appraisers a lot and kind of understand the timeline they're working on. The real estate market being what it is today means that it's hard to get a quick appraisal. I'm just throwing that out there so that if you guys are considering timelines, I think you need to take that into consideration.
Generally 90 to 120 days.
I think it should be, we should keep it open at least 60 days after the receipt of the appraisal to give us time to review it. Mhm.
Which makes it hard to give a 90-day limit if we don't know how long it's going to take in the appraisal.
Could I ask the major question of how we're gonna, the budget's not based on keeping it open?
I would like to see us use contingency funds.
All right?
We do.
The timeline, we need to adopt a timeline.
Going to do the 60 days after the appraisal?
I really don't think you're gonna have one in 90 days from today. I mean, that's why I said 60 days after the appraisal. I mean, if you get an appraisal in here in 30 days, then you're on that 90 day. But if you get an appraisal in 120 days, we've got to have time to look at it and evaluate it.
What if we say end of October? At that point,
That's fine with me.
the season is pretty well
Season's
ending
pretty much ended.
at the end of October. So why don't we say end of October?
I'll amend my motion to say to go through the end of October.
So what are we going to do at the end of October? Pull the plug in the course even if we haven't gotten an appraisal at that point?
I guess we just have to reevaluate at that time.
I think, I mean, I agree. It'd be a reevaluation as opposed to just simply, yeah.
The biggest issue I have is the fact that if we can't get anybody who's willing to contribute to us as far as for an appraisal, if we can't have somebody by the end of October, obviously the market is not strong enough to be able to sustain a golf course, or otherwise we'd have people jumping all over themselves trying to make an appraisal.
Mr. Elder, question. I noted to sell property, the state code, we're supposed to have an appraisal. What if we can't get one?
I don't know. Good question. I've never heard of anything like that. I mean, someone can appraise it. Now, the reason that I think it's probably going to, number one, appraisals are taking a long time right now anyway. Number two, you are talking about an appraisal of a rather unique piece of property. I mean, typically, yeah, when you get an appraisal, one thing you look for is comparables. That's how you appraise it. Well, how do you come up with a comparable of a 9-hole golf course in a relatively rural area? I mean, you're probably going to need an appraiser that maybe isn't from here, and that's a tough thing to appraise.
And I will say the bid, though, did not say appraise it as a golf course. If you remember, y'all stated to get it appraised at its highest and best use value, not necessarily a golf course.
How can you determine that if you don't know if it's going to be a golf course or agricultural?
It can be done. That can be done. That's done pretty routinely. You guys probably heard the scuttlebutt a couple years ago about when the manor was, when the owner of that was threatening closure, and there was talk of actually putting that land in a conservation easement. You can get land appraised any way you want it appraised.
So to answer my question, the code says we need an appraisal. We can get one somehow, some way.
There's somebody out there who will do it. I mean, I'm not going to tell council I know who that person or company is, but I know it can be done. So I'm not going to give you a name and have that backfire on me.
Okay, I have a motion and a second on the floor. You've amended your motion till October. Who was the second? Mr. Dwyer, you amend your second?
Yes, I'll amend it to be reevaluated in October.
Madam Clerk, you have that down. I won't ask you to read that back. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Dwyer,
Yes.
Mr. Hunter,
Yes.
Mr. Vincent,
No.
Mr. Parrott,
Yes.
Mr. Reed,
Yes.
Mrs. Amos,
No.
Mr. Cole.
Yes.
On a vote of 5 ayes and 2 noes, the measure is passed.
Thank you, ma'am. Where are we? Resolution C, adopting the budget. That's where we are. Yes, sir. Resolution C, resolution number 2022-0603, fiscal year 2022 to 2023 town budget. Any comments on the budget? If not, do I hear a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to adopt resolution number 2022-06-03, the 2022-2023 town budget.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? If not, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Mr. Dwyer,
Yes.
Mr. Hunter,
Yes.
Mr. Vincent,
Yes.
Mr. Parrott,
Yes.
Mr. Reed,
Yes.
Mrs. Amos,
Yes.
Mr. Cole.
Yes.
On unanimous vote, the measure is passed.
Okay, we have a budget for next year. Item number 10, request adoption of resolution number 2022-0604, ARPA funding for the Farmville Downtown Partnership. Mr. Davis, you have any comments?
No, sir.
I move that we adopt resolution 2022-06-04, allocating $15,000 to the Farmville Downtown Partnership using ARPA funds.
Second.
Motion and second. Any additional discussion? If not, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Mrs. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Hunter?
Yes.
Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Vincent?
Yes.
On unanimous vote, the measure is passed.
Thank you, ma'am. Item 11, request for utility bill adjustment at 203 South Virginia Street. I think we had a discussion about this at work session.
Yes, sir. You all asked me to come back with two items. One was to see if they received the original bill. They did. Once they received the original bill, they asked for our staff to, if there was a way to adjust that bill. The staff adjusted the bill, which you have seen before, down to $1,597, and then they have asked for further adjustment, and staff cannot do that, so that's why it's before council. You also asked what other adjustments have been done in the past. So the most recent you have before you on the dais at your seats, those with sewer and those without sewer. There's only been two in the recent past, and so they're labeled the original bill, staff adjustment, and then council's adjustment, and then what the property owner paid.
Yeah, Mr. Davis, I believe the additional information asked was a timeline on when they received the bill, when did they read the meter, and when did they do the repairs? Was there a delay from the time that they contacted the town until they finally did the repairs to end up getting another $5,500 bill the next month?
No, it was all 1 month. When we read the meter, we noticed that it was high. We made contact with the house, the tenant. They then made contact with the owner. They got it fixed immediately.
What's the pleasure of council?
And what is the bill right now that we're looking at, the total? 5,000?
It's $1,597, I believe.
But I thought there was a second bill that they want adjusted.
No, they want adjustment on top of the staff adjustment. There's only one bill.
It's already been adjusted once.
Correct.
So what's the total bill?
2961 looks like.
That's after the adjustment?
No,
That's
the
the
That's the
total.
original bill.
The original bill was $2961.16. They asked for an adjustment. Staff adjusted it by $14.60 and 19 cents. We then rebilled them for the adjusted amount of $1,597, and they still said that was too high, and they sought additional adjustment. At that time, we shared with them we can't make any further adjustments from a staff perspective.
I'll make a comment in the fact that I feel like we're treating them just like we treat anybody else in our policies, as far as in the history of my time of dealing with the town of Farmville, and with my own personal experience with a leaky toilet in my own place of business. This is exactly how it was broken down, as far as your original bill, whatever it may be, say $500, and after going back and looking at your last bill, you see that you never used that kind of money, then the town makes an adjustment and you pay your bill. In my personal opinion, I feel like that we have gone up and above. We're doing exactly what we've done for everybody else. Why not stick with what we've done in the past?
I concur.
I think we've made a different adjustment in past bills, though. I don't remember leaving the bill as it was after the town does it. We've made some concessions to other people.
Yeah, with a Fuqua school.
That's why I provided you with the other
Yeah,
one.
so what you're saying is not totally there. We have the paper in front of us where we have made other adjustments, to different people.
Fuqua Schools was adjusted down to 16%, 16.7 actually, but it's hard to get on track to follow that policy when we stray from it, but it also seems concerning that we've been presented with some bills that were adjusted below that. So where do you draw the line?
And the original bill is how much, 29?
The original bill was $2,961.16.
I'll make a motion that we write off 90% of that bill and the tenant pay 10%.
Second.
90% from the original.
From the original bill, so they would be paying $290.
So I have a motion and a second that they pay 90% of the original bill. Any other
10%
discussion?
of the, 10% of the original bill.
bill. Reduction of 90%.
Original bill, 2,900, so they would be about $300 is what they'll pay.
Any other discussion?
Just that their routine bill was in closer to the $40 range. I mean, I believe that they had a very low-end water bill until this problem.
Yeah, I mean, the toilet pretty much ran consistently probably for 20 to 30 days. And that's why the bill was so high. Just keep in mind that when this happens, we're still spending money to treat the sewer from it. Whether it's clean water going back in or not, I mean, it's going in the system.
So their monthly bill was around $40 prior to this one?
59.
59.
So I think there has to be a little bit of responsibility on the owner's side. I mean, you have a tenant, and certainly if a commode's running that much, to run through that much usage during a 30-day period, you would hear it. So I think we're very, very generous by doing this and moving on.
I concur. Generally, council has made some additional adjustments. I think this is in line with that. So we'll move on with.
Okay, I have a motion and second. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Hunter?
Yes.
Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Vincent?
Yes.
Mrs. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
On unanimous vote, the measure is passed.
Yeah, some tough votes tonight. I'm glad I'm not voting. Next item. Request on behalf of Sylvia Oliver to close a portion of Longwood Avenue for a Juneteenth celebration. Mr. Davis?
Yes, we've spoken with Ms. Oliver, and it's that we've shortened the span from Vaughn to Bridge, and she's okay. It's going to be from Vaughn to Holly.
I make a motion to approve the request.
Second.
Motion and second. Any additional discussion? If not, all in favor? Any opposed? Ayes have it. Item 13, request on behalf of William E. Johnson Jr. to close a portion of Hill Street. Mr. Davis?
Since I've been here, I think this is one that we do every year in that area.
I'll make a motion that we close a portion of Hill Street for their annual Farmville All-Stars event.
Second.
Motion and second. Any additional discussion? If not, all in favor? Any opposed? Ayes have it. Item number 14, appointments to the Farmville Planning Commission. Mr. Davis or Mr. Reed?
Yes, the Personnel Committee met, and we recommend the following for the Planning Commission: the reappointment of Dr. John Miller and Mrs. Jane Johnson, in the newly appointment of Rhett Weiss.
And those are by wards, right?
They are by wards. Mr. Miller would represent at large. Ms. Johnson would represent Ward A, and Mr. Weiss would be Ward B.
Okay. You make that in the form of a motion?
I'll make a motion that we appoint the recommended to the Farmville Planning Commission.
Okay.
Second.
A second. Any additional discussion? If not, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Mrs. Amos,
Yes.
Mr. Cole,
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer,
Yes.
Mr. Parrott,
Yes.
Mr. Hunter,
Yes.
Mr. Reed,
Yes.
Mr. Vincent.
Yes.
On unanimous vote, the measure is passed.
Thank you, ma'am. Item 15, request for business license refund, 1020 West 3rd Street LLC, doing business as Napa of Farmville. Any discussion?
I make a motion that we refund them their business license, what's left of it.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Cole,
Yes.
Mr. Hunter,
Yes.
Mr. Vincent,
Yes.
Mr. Parrott,
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer,
Yes.
Mr. Reed,
Yes.
Mrs. Amos.
Yes.
On unanimous vote, the measure is passed.
Item 16, request business license refund for the Woodland Inc.
I make a motion that we refund the business license of the Woodland Inc. for the remainder of what's due to them.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? If not, Madam Clerk?
Mr. Cole,
Madam Clerk, I need to abstain due to a conflict of interest.
Mr. Hunter,
I need to abstain due to a conflict.
Mr. Vincent,
Yes.
Mr. Parrott,
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer,
Yes.
Mr. Reed,
Yes.
Mrs. Amos.
Yes.
On a vote of 5 ayes and 2 abstains, the measure is passed.
Thank you, ma'am. Item 17, authorize the town manager to sign an agreement with the Berkeley Group, and this is the personnel agreement. Mr. Davis?
Yes, sir. This is what's in the budget of, once HR manager is hired, then they would only be here for consulting purposes when needed, or a project.
I'll put that in the form of a motion.
Second.
Motion and second. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor? Any opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, we're down to standing committee reports. Mr. Cole? Mr. Hunter?
We're going to have a meeting with public safety once we can get everyone together. I mean, so many busy people around here.
It's vacation time. Mr. Vincent?
Nothing to report outside of our regular, we've had some regular meetings with collaborators for the Farmville fireworks after dark, which has involved multiple stakeholders in that event. And we're still moving forward and it's still looking good.
Mr. Parrott?
Not a thing.
Mr. Dwyer? Nothing there. Mr. Reed?
Not at the moment.
Ms. Amos?
Yes, I wanted to bring up, we received a letter from Mr. and Mrs. Van Romont about water tap and waiving this, was it $6,000 fee of water tap? And I just wanted to bring that back up because I don't think it ever got to town council. I know Mr. Hunter and Mr. Reed, we were all, 3 of us were contacted about that, and I think it needs to be brought before council to see if we can waive that. Apparently, all of us got a letter on town council, email about it, forwarded from the clerk. So I just want to see what we can do about that now.
Mr. Davis, can you give us a quick background?
Yeah, this individual purchased under the ordinance that you created back beginning of the pandemic for a certain period of time, that if you got the taps and then you got your certificate of occupancy by a certain date, you would get refunded all but $2,000, I think it is, total for water and sewer back to you. Unfortunately, as the email shows, this person did not get a certificate of occupancy by that time. And so the town staff cannot give that rebate because that ordinance is a law that states that they had to have those things done by that time. And so now they're requesting, I'm assuming, relief from the council. If you remember, Ms. Amos brought up several months ago about extending that ordinance, and that was denied by council to extend the life of that ordinance into a further period. I can't tell you, maybe Mr. Elder can tell you whether you can override that ordinance and still give that rebate, or whether, I'm not sure.
I would have to pull the ordinance and look at it. I don't have it in front of me.
I guess, can we at least try to do that to understand that, that have the town attorney look into it, because it's to my understanding that it was no fault of the owners that they didn't get the occupancy. They paid their money to the town, they paid their money to get their work done, and it was just delays on the people doing the job. That's what I hear from it.
Plus the pandemic came in, so they had the pandemic and the worker and construction work was in fault.
If you want to punt that issue to the next meeting, I could look into it.
If you don't mind, we'll take it up at the July meeting, but if you look into it between now and then and see if council can grant that exception.
Okay. Scott, could you email me maybe the specifics so that I make sure I have what I need in front of me?
Yeah, I can forward you the email from them and the ordinance that you drafted for us.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anything else, Ms. Amos? Okay, staff reports. Mr. Atkins? Chief? Mr. Davis?
I just, hopefully you noticed that we took up the brickwork and put down Stampcrete as part of our paving project. It looks really well. And they're continuing to pave. They've done Crestview and some of those other areas, and they're working now back on Longwood Avenue and Johnson Drive.
Anybody have anything else? I won't specifically call names, but anybody have anything? Anybody have anything? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor? Any opposed? Ayes have it, adjourned.